Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to your Monday night true crime docket from Courtroom Confidential, the fastest growing true crime news channel on YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I'm feeling much better. Thank you so much, everyone, for the well wishes. I did miss a day or two of our normal programming because I was feeling a little bit under the weather. So I appreciate everybody for being so kind and understanding about all of that. Hello to everybody in the chat: Jody Arrington, Alicia, Ms. B, Alicia K. Mayo. I sometimes have people asking me, why are you always thanking people before you get started? It's important to me. If you've taken the time to show up, then I'm going to take the time to thank some of you for being here. So I wish I had time to thank all of you, but then that wouldn't be a very exciting show, would it? Also, hello to everybody who's watching on Facebook, on X. If you are there, please let us know that you're watching and send us a shout out. And one really quick housekeeping issue while we're on the subject of thanking people. We are incredibly touched and grateful every time somebody sends us a gift, if that's in memberships or super chats or what have you. And I want to make a point of thanking everybody who does that. And I missed one from a few days ago. CC Grizzly was nice enough to send us a super chat last Wednesday, and I missed it, and I'm very sorry for that, CC Grizzly. So thank you so much for the super chat. You had asked a question about Ashley Buzzard. This is the case of the missing young girl, Melody Buzzard, her mother. We had talked about how she had changed her license plates, and your question was, how did she get New York plates? And my answer to you is, very good question. I have no idea. And I think that's all part of the mystery. What is she doing with New York plates? What was she planning on doing with New York plates? All of it adding to the mystery and suspicion of that case. Unfortunately, it's not one of the cases we're going to get into this evening. To everybody who is here returning, welcome back. To everybody who is here new, thank you so much for joining us. You're in store for a treat. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Joshua Ritter. I'm a former prosecutor with the LA District Attorney's Office. I was there for about 10 years. Then I left to go into private practice as a criminal defense attorney. And this is Courtroom Confidential, where we try our best to present to you both sides of the courtroom. And this is our Monday night true crime docket. It is, think of it as your sneak peek at the week ahead. Of all things to expect in true crime, and a lot for us to get into this evening. As you can tell, I am not in my normal studio. I'm away. I'm in New York City for this week. This is the glamorous hotel room I'm set up in, so this is where I'll be tonight and Wednesday as well. But I didn't want to miss this. I'm feeling much better, and again, thank you all for the well wishes. Stay to the end, please. We do have announcements. Farm Girl, thank you so much for gifting the memberships. Appreciate that, kicking us off this evening. Therapist, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Appreciate you as well. Like I said, stay to the end for announcements. But before we do that, take a deep breath, center yourself, hit that like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with anybody who you think might enjoy it. All right, let's get into it. First of all, late last week, we had a verdict, and this came in after I think we had already done our weekly roundup, and that was in the case of Devyn Michaels. She was accused of murdering her. Now, put this all together. If you've got your cork board, push pins, and yarn out, you can start to put this all together. She was with a man by the name of Jonathan Willett. She had 2 daughters with him, actually. At the same time, she was having an affair with Jonathan's son, whose name is Devyn Willett, his son from a different marriage. So she was having an affair with her stepson. She then left Jonathan and married her stepson. Then, and this was the prosecution's theory, Jonathan was set to move back in with them, and things progressed too quickly, and she felt a threat to her relationship with Devyn, her stepson/husband, by the presence of Jonathan, her ex-husband/children's father, So she decided to kill him. And the way that she ended up killing him was on August 7th of 2023. This is out of Las Vegas, by the way. I'm sure you're not shocked. She laid him down to give him a massage. Always a trick, fellas. And beat him on the back of the head, and then decapitated him and hid his head. They've never found the head. Poured chemicals on his body, by the way. Seriously, though, that was the motive. Prosecutors felt that she was unhappy with how quickly things were progressing. She admitted to the massage and the clubbing, but said, no, I didn't do the decapitating and I didn't hide the head. But the jury didn't buy any of that. And late last week, on Friday, in fact, she was convicted. She's looking at 51 years to life in prison for that murder. This was a case, too, that fell on a lot of people's radars, including ours, because she had originally accepted a plea. And she was going to receive less time, I think, part of the negotiated plea, than what she's looking at now, certainly. And at the moment of sentencing, she in court says, I can't do this. I'm an innocent person, got cold feet, as it were. And the prosecution, to their credit, stood up and said, Your Honor, we can't accept this plea. If she wants her trial, she's going to get her trial. And I will tell you guys, that's a lot of times why these things end up in trial. Very rarely do trials go to trial because it's like this, we don't know what happened and we need a jury to decide for us. Many times it's just somebody saying, I want my day in court. And everybody knows the mountain of evidence against that person, but they're saying, I want my day in court. Now, does that mean that there are never people who go to trial who are innocent folks? Absolutely not. Of course there are innocent folks who go to trial and they prove their innocence. And that's the way our system is beautiful. But I will tell you, the vast majority of trials, usually the ones that don't end up on TV, are cases where it's kind of what we would call in the biz a long plea. One little side note, and I already saw somebody talking about this, little trivia for you people deep in the weeds on true crime. She was once married to a man by the name of Robert Louis Baker. There he is. You may recognize him. He's also a convicted murderer doing life without parole because he, after his affair with Devyn Michaels, went on to another real catch by the name of Monica Cementelli, who decided that she wanted to have her husband Fabio Cementelli murdered, and Mr. Robert Baker obliged, and with the assistance of someone else, snuck into his home, stabbed the man to death. So that's her kind of history in true crime. She's going to come back on, this is Devyn, we're back to Devyn, by the way. She's going to come back on January 8th of next year for a sentencing. She faces, like I said, 51 years to life in prison. Just a remarkable set of circumstances in that case. Annalie Finch, you're so kind. Thank you so much. I am feeling much better. Yeah, I don't know what went on with me, but you guys know that if I'm not on here saying hi when we usually tell you I'm going to be, something was wrong. So I appreciate the kind words. Today, though, let's get to today. Big news today, Brian Walshe. This is a case that we have been following very closely. Just a quick catch up for everybody who's not in the know on this case. He's accused of murdering his wife, Anna Walshe, on New Year's Day of 2023. They lived in Cohasset, Massachusetts. There she is. Her body has never been found. She just went missing. She was reported missing by her work, not by him. About 4 days later, when she was supposed to report to her office job in D.C., never showed up. They said, where is she? They reported her missing. And then police began investigating, and they began discovering he was buying a bunch of cleaning supplies, and he was going around to different locations disposing of bags of disposables for unknown reasons. And then, of course, they got the Google searches on his child's iPad, by the way, with such hits as, how do you clean up blood and how do you dispose of a body and how quickly until you can inherit money and all of this other stuff. His trial is beginning soon. If possible, we will absolutely be streaming this trial. And in fact, today we streamed his last court appearance today. I don't know if there's confusion or if we're just confusing ourselves, but we're hoping this is going to be one of those trials that is appropriate for us to stream. And it's not going to be one of those situations where it's only available to the media or something. If it is, it will be up on our channel and we will confirm for you. But the latest is, and I really like this, I wanted to highlight this, the en vogue, I feel, motion in these cases with any kind of media profile is that the defense files a motion to have venue changed. They say, hey, somebody said a naughty word about us in the media. We want this taken out of this county and moved far, far away so that we can have a fair trial. And, you know, we saw it. Cases like Brian Koberger, it made sense. Moscow, kind of a smaller community, college, close-knit community. You could understand why they would want that moved. You know, we saw it, there's a lot of talk about it in the Piketon Massacre case. Some cases, it makes sense. But every single case where there's some media presence, it seems like that's what they're asking for nowadays. And by the way, I don't know if this really advantages the defense or not, or if it's just something to do, but they've done that in this case. His attorney today, her name is Kelly Porges, and I don't know if it's pronounced Porges or Porges. I'm going to say Porges. I'm getting the thumbs up on Porges. Said in a motion that, this is a quote, the media attention was inflammatory and prejudicial and invoked the sympathy of the jury to hear that Anna, oh, pardon me, no, I'm so wrong on this. No, I'm confusing this. I apologize, guys. This was a different issue. This issue had to do with his attorney, Kelly Porges, has asked that the judge prevent any witnesses. Therapist, you know, says plot twist. Not plot twist as much as just a brain lapse. Because this issue does come up in another case this evening. But this, yeah, not my fault. This case brought up the issue of whether or not witnesses could talk about Anna's character. Specifically, what she's saying is that she feels that any mention of her being a good mother or a dedicated employee would be prejudicial. These were her words, quote, it would be inflammatory and prejudicial and invoke sympathy of the jury to hear that Anna was a great mother and a great employee and would never abandon her children. The judge, in response to this, says she's going to kind of handle it on the fly, make the objections as you feel appropriate during the trial, but I will probably allow observations, general observations, as to the victim's interactions with her children. Here's the thing about this, and I wish the prosecution had come down harder on this. If you don't want any kind of character as to her being a good mother or dedicated employee, well, then why don't you go ahead and stipulate that she was murdered? That would be a good starting point for me if I'm the prosecution in this case. Because when we have a missing body, you know, the very first argument out of the defense's mouth is going to be, we don't even know if there's a murder here, ladies and gentlemen. How could you possibly convict my client beyond a reasonable doubt of a murder where they cannot even prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that a murder took place? Where's the autopsy? Where's the reports? Where's the cause and manner of death? How can you possibly hold this person responsible for a murder when they can't even prove a murder took place? She could, in fact, walk through the back doors of this courtroom at any moment. 12 eyes go look towards the back of the courtroom, all 12 eyes, but the defendant's eyes. That's the whole reason why the prosecution gets to bring that in. If she were not a missing person, then I agree with you. What relevance does it have that she was a good mother, that she was a dedicated mother, that she was a dedicated employee. But it has significant relevance when you have to prove that she is not in fact missing, but she's in fact dead. That's why you get into all of that. That's why you get into the idea that she wouldn't abandon these 3 beautiful little children here. That's why you get into the idea that she wouldn't just not show up to work. So if you want to go ahead and not make those arguments and stipulate to murder, then maybe we can get into the idea of why it's not relevant to get into her character. Anyhow, just my little 2 bits on that. My little rant on that one. And I'll get into my rant on the change of venue in a second. Don't worry. Buckle up, everybody. Plenty of rants to come this evening. I'm looking if we have any questions. As you have them, by the way, I'm doing my best, in these temporary conditions to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So if you got questions, go ahead and throw them up. So that's Brian Walshe. His trial is now, oh, by the way, remember there was this one small delay about whether or not he was competent to stand trial because he got a little beat up in jail, and it had cost him to have such great feels that he couldn't show up to court. The judge said no to that. He's fit to stand trial. He did have a mental health evaluation in all seriousness. And so he's going to be first, but I think jury selections planned for ahead of that, and December 1st is when the projected date for opening statements. I think I'm right on that. I don't know. I'm getting a lot of quizzical nods from Kaylin. She's saying, yes, I'm right. Okay, jury selection starts tomorrow, says Kaylin, meaning, yes, projected for opening statements on December 1st. And like I said, if they're going to be something we can stream, we will absolutely stream them because I want to be following this case very closely. I'm fascinated with this case. A lot of not to mention that the idea that it's a no body case, but there's a lot of just other interesting issues at play here, including the one that we just discussed. Is he still selling fake artwork? Well, I think he should start up again because he's going to have a lot of attorney's fees. All right. Next up, also in court today, Antonio Brown. This is the former NFL star. I mean, this guy was looking, had a career path towards really great, Hall of Fame type numbers. And he has fallen on hard times. He has now been accused of attempted murder. He was in Dubai. They deported him, extradited him, probably the more appropriate term, back to Florida to stand trial for this. These are some stills from the incident that took place. This was in May, earlier this year in Miami after a celebrity boxing match. He apparently had got into a fist fight with a person, then grabbed a gun from a security person and fired 2 shots at the person that he got into a fight with. And that person says that he grazed him on the neck. If all of this is true, bad for Antonio Brown. That now we are looking at attempt murder. I mean, I've never believed in the concept of assault with a deadly weapon, to wit, a handgun. If you assault somebody with a deadly weapon, to wit, a handgun, to me, that's attempted murder. The gentleman that is the alleged victim in this case, I'm going to try my best here. His name is Zul Karnain Kwambi Nantambu. And, this may come down to some sort of mutual combat situation, a self-defense type situation. Anyways, he was arraigned today. His attorney is attorney Mike Eiglarsh. You guys may be familiar with him. Mark is arguing that it wasn't his gun, or it wasn't the security guard's gun. It was his own gun. I don't know how that's helpful, but he's saying that he never, in fact, fired the gun. That is certainly helpful. And that this graze to the guy's neck was not from a gunfire. It was from something else entirely. Okay. There's obviously not a bullet hole in the guy, which is always a good starting point as the defense. But he's facing some very serious time here. I mean, in Florida, you're looking at 15 years for an attempt murder, which doubles when that attempted murders conducted with a gun. So he's looking at 30 years with a 20-year mandatory minimum. Bad news for him. Despite the smile on his face, he's in real serious trouble here. But there's already some indications, even from the judge, made some interesting comments ahead of time that this case might not be, that's Judge Mindy Glazer, might not be as strong as the prosecution thinks, and might be overly zealously filed. And he's out on bail, so that's also a good thing for him. He's going to come back on December 22nd for a status hearing. So he was arraigned today. Let me see. Let me check in on the questions here. Oh, here's a good one from Afton. We know her. Hey, Afton says, do you think his bail amount speaks to the strength of the prosecution's case? I do, because his bail, I think, was $25,000, which is very low. I'm obviously used to what the bail standards are in California, but $25,000, I think, even in Florida, is low for an attempted murder case that you're looking at 30-something years in prison. You would think you would be talking more than $25,000. But also the judge just made some comments in court about the facts that she is aware of them, at least as they were explained to her, might not entirely aligned with an attempted murder. And maybe she's thinking it is more along the lines of an assault with a deadly weapon. I don't know, or more of a mutual combat or a self-defense type situation. Florida is one of those stand your ground states. So if Iglarsh is willing to go that way, that might be a determination that he'll have made by the court too. So interesting case. Really sad for him that he's in this situation. All right. Let me see. Moving on here. Why is he out on bail? Shell asked, why is he out on bail when he already fled? Great question, Shell. He didn't exactly flee. He just didn't come back. I believe that when they filed this, he was already in Dubai. So you could have said that, yeah, he fled after he shot at somebody, then he got on a plane. Good point. But I guess you can't exactly call it fleeing if the charges weren't filed until later and you weren't exactly, how are you fleeing from something you weren't aware of? I don't know. In any case, call it the judge not seeing things to be as strong as the prosecution, or call it some savvy lawyering on Iglarsh's part. But he's out on bail. So that case will probably drag on, given the fact that he is out on bail. All right. He was out of the country when the warrant went out. I saw that comment there. I think that is correct. All right. Next up, really sad case out of Idaho. This is the case of the missing 5-year-old, Michael Vaughan. There he is. Handsome young man. There was an arrest made of the neighbor. His name is Stacey Wondra. Him and his wife, Sarah Wondra, lived less than half a mile from the home. They had been suspects for since 2022. He went missing in July of 2021. This is out of Fruitland, Idaho. Still has never been located. Still has never found his body. They evacuated the Wondra couple's backyard with cadaver dogs. Didn't find anything. At one point, Sarah was arrested for failure to report a death. I think that had in part to do with statements made by Stacey concerning his wife, but she was later released on those charges. Am I still there, guys? I think I glitched out for a second. Stacey, the husband, has been arrested and now, as of today, indicted and formally charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, destruction of evidence, a list of other crimes related to 5-year-old Michael Vaughan's disappearance. So we'll continue following this one. His preliminary hearing is set for December 16th. So in just a few weeks here. You know, a lot of questions about this case as to like what possibly motivated that. What does the proximity to the house have to do anything? Really sad case. There he is. God, what a tragedy. All right. Let me check on the questions here. I think we're doing all right. Moving on. Also today, busy day. Austin Drummond. Talk about sad, horrible cases. Austin Drummond out of Tiptonville, Tennessee. He is accused of, on July 29th, committing a quadruple homicide and a kidnapping. He is, this was a big manhunt case because he is alleged to have murdered James Wilson, age 21, Adriana Williams, 20, Braden Williams, 15, and Courtney Rose, age 38. The interesting thing I was thinking about this to me today is, those are younger folks, 21, 20, 15 years old. Courtney Rose, being 38, but female. I can't see this being some sort of mutual combat situation. Like, I can't see this being something where it's like, some fight took place, and then in the midst of that fight, he pulls out a gun and guns down everybody. To me, they're all kind of on the vulnerable end of the spectrum of victims. To me, this is a flat out just annihilation of a family, like an assassination, annihilation of a family. And we're still not all that clear as to the motive behind it. The only connection we keep on being told is that his current girlfriend was sisters with the grandmother, Courtney Rose, of the baby that was then found. They took the baby and left it at some random person's yard. Why the baby was spared, why the baby was brought to a different location, what does the connection between the girlfriend and the grandmother have to do with anything? All of this, none of it making a whole bunch of sense at this point, but a really, really sad, tragic case. He was arraigned. So they had a prelim to decide if there was enough evidence to go to grand jury. It went to grand jury. Grand jury came back with an indictment on November 10th, and he was arraigned today, pled not guilty on that indictment out of Tiptonville, Tennessee. He recently had a motion to deny his transfer to state prison. You maybe remember the latest news on this was that the law enforcement wanted him taken out of local county jail and put into state prison while he's pending trial because he's a troublemaker. And they tried to stop that. And the judge said, nope, I'm going to go ahead and send you off to state prison while you're waiting for trial. And he is seeking a change of venue. So there's at least one case talking about that, but it's not this case. It's another case that we'll get into more about the change of venue issue. Anyhow, his next court date will be November 24th. And we'll keep a close eye on this one. I know that a lot of you have been very concerned with it, especially since it was a large manhunt. Rita G from Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Hello from Australia. Glad to catch you live. Happy to see that you are much better, Joshua Ritter, Esquire. Well, thank you very much. Rita G from Down Under. Appreciate your kind words. Yes, I am feeling much better. All right. Let me see. Tomorrow, Lindsay Clancy will be back in court. Lindsay Clancy, God, you want to talk about horrible cases. This is the mother of 3 who is accused of, on January 24th of 2023, they lived in Duxbury, Massachusetts. This gets slightly graphic, I will say. Not graphic, but just awful. Maybe that's the best way to put it. She's accused of strangling her 3 children to death. And according to prosecutors, she used an exercise band to do that. Her children were Cora, age 5, Dawson, age 3, and Callan, 8 months old. Whew. Prosecutors today talked about, this case is going to come down to a mental health defense. They're essentially saying that she suffered from severe postpartum depression syndrome, whatever you want to call it. She was medicated. It is true she was dealing with difficulties. Even her own husband has come to her defense saying that she's not a bad mother. She was a very sick person. Listen, my heart goes out to this family, obviously. I mean, it does not sound like she falls into that category of people who saw their child as evil. Maybe that is true. I don't know. But in response to that, the prosecution has said that they intend to prove that the strangulation of these children was also not quick, and that it may have taken up to 5 minutes per child. That's where we really start to drift into premeditation and how this may not be some sort of snap in your psyche, that this may have been far more sinister and deliberate. She then did attempt suicide after that, apparently tried to stab herself, jumped out of a upstairs window. She's paralyzed to this day. She shows up to court paralyzed. Her attorneys, defense attorney Kevin Reddington, is asking for a change of venue. And this is where this was the case I was kind of confusing it with earlier. They're both out of Massachusetts. You can understand my confusion and my brain fog from being a little jet lagged. He wants the trial moved from Suffolk County to Plymouth County. And he's blaming that on what he calls exploitive prejudicial publicity. The DA in this case, her name is Jennifer Sprague, had, I think, a very unique response to this. And this is what I wanted to highlight. Here's a couple of quotes from her. She says, "The media coverage was extensive, and defense counsel pitched his version of the facts and his opinion of his client's mental health to most, if not all, of local television and print media." It's kind of like, kettle and pot type situation here. Defense counsel's bid for a new venue because the public may have formed opinions based on media coverage seems disingenuous after he himself courted the media at the inception of the case in an attempt to sway the public to his version of events. I kind of like this. Hey, you don't get to both use it as a tool and then say, well, now there's too much attention on this case. If you're going to use the media, then you kind of sleep in the bed that you made. And I don't know. I don't know why these change of venue things kind of rub me the wrong way too, because one, I still fail to see the actual strategic value in it many times, because I think that no matter how much of a profile of a case, I feel like you can still find jurors that are impartial. In some rare circumstances with a very small community, perhaps no. But also, this is just kind of the world we live in now. People know what's going on around them, and they're invested in their local news. And you certainly can't say, hey, it's become too exploitive when you're taking part in the exploitation. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think it's just safer to start moving these cases all over the place? I mean, and then it's like, when it gets moved to that community, you think that community doesn't become aware this high profile case landing in their backyard. I don't know. And maybe I'm getting too twisted out of shape about the wrong type of stuff. Becky B says media can be powerful. It absolutely can. I'm wondering, does it have the ability to make people ignore the evidence as much as it seems that many of these arguments would have you believe? As if, we're jurors. All of us are the potential jurors. Are we such automatons that we hear a little bit about a case ahead of time and we come to court and we feel like we can't put that aside? Or if we can't put it aside, we can't be honest enough to say that? I don't know. Afton says she's with me on this one. I appreciate that, Afton. Finally, Afton and I agree on something. A homicides detective, thank you so much for gifting the Courtroom Confidential membership. Appreciate you. Very kind of you. All right. Trial for Lindsay Clancy, though, is set for February 6th of 2026. Yeah, really sad one. I don't know if that's a case that you guys want us to follow on our sister channel as well, but let us know. It's going to come down to really, it's not a whodunit. It certainly isn't. It's a what is it and where was her mental state at the time. Thursday, a case we probably will follow because it's just kind of interesting to me, is Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez, also a former NFL star, was a Fox Sports analyst, has now been canned by Fox Sports to the shock of absolutely no one. He is accused of the assault of a 69-year-old man by the name of Perry Toll on October 4th in Indianapolis, Indiana. Oh, there he is. There's Perry. What a nice unassuming looking gentleman he is. I don't think I could see why I would need to get into a fist and or knife fight with that man, but Mark Sanchez decided that he needed to. The allegations were that he tried to enter his truck and move his truck, and then he attacked him, and then he got pepper sprayed, and then he went after him again, and Perry had to come back at him with a knife, and he ends up putting this 69-year-old man into the hospital. And he's been charged with felony battery causing serious bodily injury. It's a serious charge. It's a very serious charge. He also suffered injuries that hospitalized him. So anyhow, he has been fired by Fox Sports. His trial is set for December 11th. I don't think it's going to be starting on December 11th. I think this will probably drag on for a while with his attorneys, but who knows? Maybe Indianapolis says, we're getting this thing on the road right away. I saw somebody in the comments talk about alcohol being an issue here. I think you're absolutely right. Voluntary intoxication isn't a defense, says Afton. That is true as well. Let me make sure I'm not missing things here. All right. Well, Ashley Floyd says, what would be the advantage of postponing? It's one of those things where the one advantage that the defense does have is the ability to control the clock. And many times time is not on your side. So you might as well see how long you can drag it out till people don't care as much anymore. Perry has moved on. Maybe there's been a lawsuit. Maybe you settled that lawsuit. There has been a lawsuit, by the way. Maybe he pays off Perry. Maybe Perry's not as enthusiastic about pursuing the case as he once was. Who knows? You drag these things out. You try to get yourself a better deal. I think that's the only way this ends, is it either goes to trial or they work out some deal, because I cannot see him agreeing to step foot in jail for this whole thing. We all know how this is going to end up. He's going to end up doing some sort of campaign where he makes public statements and contributes a bunch of money and says, alcohol's bad, don't do drugs, stay in school, and does a bunch of counseling and does a bunch of anger management and, does this big contrition tour, and he'll probably never spend a foot inside jail. Any other normal person would be going to prison. All right. What did I miss here? All right. Let's keep it rolling. So that's Max Sanchez on Thursday. Then Friday, to finish out our week, Matthew Farwell. This is a case that I know a lot of you have been following very closely. He is accused in federal court of the murder of Sandra Birchmore, who's 23 years old at the time. If you aren't familiar with this case, I'm going to give you a very quick version, but you should look up the circumstances of it when you have time. But she was a part of the. He was a Stoughton Police Department officer, and she was part of the Explorers program there since the time she was 14, I think it was, or 13. But it is believed that he began in the media. It's been described as a sexual relationship. I think the word relationship is inappropriate here. It was grooming. It was assault. It was, she was 15 years old when he started having sex with her. According to the allegations, he was 27 at the time and married. She then became pregnant and told him that it was his. We have since found out it was not his, but she said it was his, which is going to become important to what I'm about to tell you. And she says that he wants him to be a part of this child's life, which was not in the game plan for Matthew Farwell. So he murdered her, strangled her, and staged it to look as if she took her own life. It was classified as a case of self-inflicted harm for a while, until federal investigators got involved and realized that no, in fact, Farwell was responsible for her murder. The reason why it's important that she told him that she was pregnant and it was his is he has now been, and on Friday will be, arraigned. He's been indicted, but will be arraigned on the murder of her unborn child. It's a male child, even though she was pregnant by someone else. But he will, we've seen this in some rare circumstances. He's going to be on trial for double homicide now, both Sandra's murder and the murder of the unborn male child. He had already been indicted for her murder back in August last year. So why it took this long for federal prosecutors to make that decision, I don't know. I don't know. It's a really good question. I don't know if they were researching their position on the law. I can't imagine they were waiting on further evidence to confirm that he knew. It's a really interesting question. If I had to guess, I honestly would guess that it was some sort of internal delay, some sort of consternation within the federal prosecutor's office about whether or not they wanted to charge it. But a very, very horrific case. Also a case where they have filed, as of today, a change of venue. They filed a 200-page motion, is what's being reported, asking to change venue from Massachusetts to Rhode Island. One of the quotes is that the saturation of prejudicial local publicity and its impact on potential jurors is caused to move the federal proceedings from Massachusetts to Rhode Island. Again, we're talking about it here. I'm sitting in New York. You all are sitting wherever you're sitting. It's a case of kind of national attention. You know, it's kind of like what good does it do to move these things for the sake of moving them, unless you feel that somehow the large community in Massachusetts cannot supply you with enough jurors that have not formed an opinion about this case. And again, you know, listen, I don't want to be accused of being somehow, you know, pro-prosecution, anti-defense on this. You know, the whole mission goal of this channel is to give you both sides of the courtroom. I applaud any defense efforts to defend their client. That's the job they should be doing with complete zealousness. But to strategic advantage, I feel, as well. And tell me what the strategic advantage of moving it from Massachusetts to Rhode Island is. Do they perhaps feel that the Rhode Island jury pool will be more favorable to a man charged with his crime? Perhaps. Do they feel, I mean, again, you could almost make the argument, but don't you feel that maybe a Massachusetts jury pool will be less, or will be more critical of law enforcement and a bad cop? Maybe that's the thinking behind it as well. I mean, you know, at least now we're coming up with ideas. Yeah, Charlene Anderson says, like, the prejudice stops at Massachusetts, Rhode Island state line. I don't really get it. You know, now that we're kind of all thinking about it together, maybe the best argument for it is that there is a bias against law enforcement in that Massachusetts community that they could point towards, and therefore they're going to be a Massachusetts jury would just be far more critical of a person in law enforcement and may convict him of that alone and not the circumstances of the case. Maybe they're just so against dirty cops there because they've had a problem with it that they're going to convict this man. Okay, at least then I can wrap my heads around it. But I feel like in the vast majority of these cases, you know, it doesn't make sense. Joy W says, is the change of venue the new wear regular clothes motion? Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's the 1-2 punch out of the gate. Don't worry, Guy. We're going to do a lot for you. I'm going to get you wearing regular clothes, and we'll get you moved to a new county before you know it. And all the problems will be solved. So I don't know. Anyhow, that's the week coming up, everybody. I hope that was enlightening for you. I hope that gave you a good handle on the true crime docket and your sneak peek for the week ahead. I do have some announcements for you. Don't go anywhere. But before that, we just have a quick word from our sponsor. I don't know if you've seen the news lately, but there are reports that over 183 million email passwords have been leaked online, including Gmail. This means that hackers can not only get into your Gmail account, but they could get into any account linked to that account, including shopping sites, banks, and subscriptions, you name it. As someone who uses Gmail every day, I worried, obviously. But then I remembered I'm protected by our sponsor, Aura. Aura provides full digital security so you can feel safe even when leaks like this happen. You get dark web alerts, bank fraud monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, a password manager, and up to $5 million in identity theft insurance all in one app. Try Aura free for 14 days right now. Just go to aura.com/courtroomconfidential. It's free to try, it protects you, and it helps support the show. Have you guys been to our website, thecourtroomconfidential.com? If you go to thecourtroomconfidential.com, you'll find one of several different things. One, you will find a way to leave us a message every Sunday, except this last Sunday, because Josh's belly wasn't feeling that great. He had a tummy ache, so Josh couldn't do Sunday Fun Day, but mainly every Sunday, we answer your questions live on Sunday Fun Day, and the best way to leave us a question is to go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and click on Leave Us a Message. Or if you've seen people receive memberships this evening and you think to yourself, I want to become a member too, you can join the CC crew by clicking on Become a Member and find out about all our membership categories and all the benefits of being a member. And lastly, if you go to the shop at thecourtroomconfidential.com, you can find about all of our merch, including our holiday merch, which is now available because it has become wintertime. I'm in New York. I'm a California boy. It's a little chilly out here, so I wore my Courtroom Confidential beanie. I was walking around with this thing all day. It's fantastic. Keeps my California ears warm. Lets everybody know they should check out the podcast. Did you guys know we had these available even before now? So check it out on the shop. Now what do I got going on here? There we go. Thecourtroomconfidential.com. Click on the shop. You can find out about our new mugs, our new PJ pants, our funny sweaters for the holiday, the beanie, everything that we've got available for you. A lot of stuff that Kaylin, Tiffany, and the girls, the ladies have been working on. A lot of fun stuff that we're very proud of. So please check that out at thecourtroomconfidential.com. What you missed this weekend. You didn't miss anything. We didn't have a Sunday fun day. Like I said, just couldn't do it. If I could have done it, I would have done it. I just couldn't do it. Sorry. But we will have a double fun Sunday fun day this coming Sunday. But in the meantime, we had the last Brian Walshe hearing on Courtroom Confidential live trials, our sister channel today. So if you wanted to see that, check that out. Go to CC Live Trials on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss anything. But that's where we stream all of our live courtroom action. So his hearing is up right now. You can watch that today. Wednesday, we are back for Wednesday Night Live. Special, coming to you live from New York with special guest Julia Janae from Court TV. And we're going to be talking about Brian Walshe coming up. She's got some insights on that. Trial is on. And we'll talk about what to expect for that trial coming up. That'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern this Wednesday. Friday, same time, same place. Live weekly roundup, everything to expect from what happened this week. You heard about it now, what to expect. Now you get to hear about what happened on Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And then, like I said, Sunday Fun Day will be back this Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. All right, some quick thank yous to A Hand, Kate Tastrophe, Accept Me As I Am, Linda R, Johnny M, Balo Bird, Laura, Jackie Ferrara, 12 Steps Mel, Kitty Kitty Meow, Lauren D. Signs, Miss Jessica NB, D. Dunaway, Daisy Jane, Honey in the Rock, Dr. Psycho Fraculator, Arnie Grape, Luis Donnelly, Ms. Stewie, Cindy Lou Who, Debbie Wilson, Cinnamon Berry, Jane G, Weddy Mom WV, Spencer and Jude, Cheyenne Dupree, Who You With, and Mackenzie Jabalay. You guys are all fantastic. You all became members. I hope you enjoy it. I think that you will. And we appreciate all of your support. And a special shout out to our mods who keep us all very happy and all in line. Afton, Shy Gal, Kathy, and therapists, you know, you're all fantastic. D. Bullard says, love this. Bunch of juice boxes. Juice boxes right back at you. We're all juiced. I haven't talked about that enough. I'm super juiced today, feeling much better. So thank you all for being here with me tonight, putting up with the awkward confines, the brain fog and everything else. You're all fantastic. Special shout out to Kaylin for making everything run so smoothly, and to Tiffany for being the best thing that ever happened to me. You guys are fantastic. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday evening, and we will see you back here on Wednesday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.